Hello everyone. Welcome to the very first podcast session of Project Draupadi. Today we are joined by Srija Santhosh ma'am. She started her professional career as a research fellow at the Ministry of Earth Sciences. And over 20 years, she has also gained a lot of experience working with women and NGO. She is also a Reliance Foundation and Vital Voices 2023 Women Lead Fellow. And therefore, we believe that you are the best person to start our podcast session with. Thank you so much for joining with us.
Thank you so much, Parvati, for such a wonderful introduction. And indeed, what you and Krishna Sri, I know Krishna Sri personally, and Femella Foundation Director Alu Krishna, what you youngsters, what you have brought out this, awareness campaign and sessions. It's such a wonderful initiative in, bringing awareness among the youngsters about the evil in the society and what we can do about it.
Thank you. So I think we can move to the session now. Domestic violence, which is the core theme of this project, is often considered as a very private household thing, right? But as we were doing a lot of projects related to this, we realized that it has a larger systemic connection to it. Do you think it's right, or what do you have to
Yes,
say?
definitely it is because the numbers itself speaks. Now, if you look in India itself, we have reports saying that around 33 to 40 percentage of women they face the domestic violence. Worldwide, it's not just something which is only specific to India. Worldwide, also, if you look at the statistics, 90 crore is a big number who are, who are, have suffered some kind of violence in their households. So definitely, it's no longer something which is within the four walls of the household. It's something which is a larger, should it's a critical, I find it a critical condition which has to be urgently addressed by the policymakers and the government and even even the household. It has to start education, awareness has to start from the household itself. So, it has been there for a long time, but with a lot of awareness and, a lot of campaigns that are run internationally and by the Indian governments and NGOs, we know that domestic violence or any type of violence is not a right thing. Everyone has a right, everyone's right has to be respected.
Also, ma'am, while I was reading through your profile for this interview, one thing I've realized is that financial literacy is something that your works are closely related with. So, do you think that financial independence
Yeah.
will greatly make a difference in the kind of decisions that women make in their life?
Absolutely. For me, I think everyone should be working because Indian population, women is around half of that population. 150 crores Indian population. So 50%, nearly 50% is the female population, and that much of human resources is just sitting at home. So, and one more thing is that it gives working and uh, it gives a sort of identity to you. That's why you are studying all this. Every mother I mean every parents, they aspire their children to reach somewhere, and they, irrespective, and now you can say, before it may not, there might be gender biased, but now women and boys and girls, they are sent to school, go to tuitions, and go for entrance exams. So what purpose? It's not to get the best guy, to marry the richest guy there who is there. So it's that's used to be the trend beforehand, but now it is not so. With all the social media awareness and all that, women, they don't want to be at home any longer. They want to be financial, because financial independence, it gives a sort of like a relief to you. It gives you sort of like, you can spend of your what you want. Otherwise, what happens, you're dependent on someone for all your needs, and which I feel it is not correct. And during my career, throughout my life, I have met different sectors of people working in different areas. And in one of the projects, I was, happened to meet in close connections with the self-help groups. So, and I really appreciate how they work. Like, they're coming from very marginalized, lower income communities. But because of their collective, the formation of those type of groups, especially where I was working, it was in the Odisha region, where the Shakti groups are very, very prominent, and they do a lot of micro enterprises. So, but when the people who were assigned to me, when we started our training program, they didn't have a bank account in their own name. It was in the name of their, partner or some male member in their family. So, but we insisted that and another thing is that if you notice in our system of patriarchy, in major part of India, if I'm speaking about, property divisions were not equal. Always it favored the male member, because always there is that thought that they'll take care of the kids, take care of the parents. But it's not the, you know, I mean, everywhere you see the doctors doing it. But those, because of, so in many places, the property is not, they are avoided from any, part of their parents' property. So when we were working in this project was supposed to be in the name, that land that the government is allotting for the project, it was supposed to be in the name of that particular SHG woman representative. And that itself brought so much happiness, because for the first time in their life, something is in her name, a property is in her name. That itself is empowering. So one step was that. Second is, with the years of being living in a submissive way of life, that means you have certain routine, like taking care of the children, taking care of the household item, and there is predominantly there is a feeling that men only knows the account part, they can only handle money. So slowly by slowly, women, they don't know how to. It was very, they were hesitant. They were scared. They will make mistakes in the counting. Things will go wrong. Also, we have to, overcome all this, emotional baggages they are carrying. So we have to tell them, no, you start slow by slow. I mean, you maintain a book, you don't go, in your mobile, you no need to do that app. You maintain a stock book, account how much product you are putting in the shop, how much is there, then how much profit you had, and the next, what is the planning you can do. So these were like a learning. So we also learned in the process, but I must say that in some of the projects, women took the leadership. They were the ones who were managing the shop also. But in certain one or two cases, we have found that over period of time, accounts all everything was in the woman's name, and money was coming in their bank account and everything. But the shop is eventually managed by the male member, because they think that they can manage it well or they are efficient. So there is a hesitancy to learn again. So I feel that they have, these are all learning process, and one of the best examples of such collective woman empowering, initiatives is there in Kerala. It's Kudumbashri. It has helped immense women to come out of their house. In domestic violence cases, it happens in isolation. So once they step out, there is a relief. There is a chance to be out there and do something for yourself. So yeah.
That brings me to my next question. So we see that often financial independence alone is not sufficient, right? A lot of women are stuck in abusive relationships.
Yeah.
They may be financially independent, but they are stuck there and they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So how should they really deal with it? Because there is really this taboo attached with
Correct.
breaking
Correct.
away from such a
Yes.
relationship.
When you say, yes, we see now women working. Now it's like, uh, before, woman was not, at least she was just doing the household work. Now even more work is there for the woman. She has to go and do her office wherever she is working, and then she has to come home and prepare lunch, cleaning and taking care of the kids, and everything is, you know everything, and there's no time for herself. Basically that's the situation now. So if there are parents or anything for who needs caregiving, for that also she has to be there full time sometimes. It's a time that we shift that segregation of roles. That only women can do this particular, and men are not. They can only do this type of work. Like they can only, the account and the money matters men only, and the woman all the household. Those type of segregation, and then what happened? Major part of the work is done by the woman. So those type of segregation is time we remove all that. Even in my household, when I you know maybe it's by force of habit. Like tell my daughter to wash her own plate after she eats, and sometimes I don't tell my son to do. Okay, so that itself is wrong actually. Then my daughter will tell, you have to tell your son also. Then only, so that's the education we have to give our kids. Your work you do. You don't expect someone else to do. As simple as washing your own plate and such type of household, because I feel these are all life skills. And in a corporate organization that I was working, I happened to work. There I have seen that, men are missing out on cleanliness in many cases because they are employees who are coming for an organization. And every 1 month we have to send a pest control agency to go and clean. Why? Because they are not, because someone else was doing their job for them. So when they go out to hostels or to living in simple or anything, a lot of things are left questioned. Cleanliness is one part. Like make your bed, see that your utensils are washed. So in a timely manner. So all these are some of the small things, and even small part of cooking. Why only my question is why women only have to learn? I mean, we learn it on the way because now female kids are also in the colleges and everything. So they are also, not getting time to see what, how to do certain things which will help them in making their own simple food by themselves. But I feel that some of these things can be taught to them either in schools or in, because these are life skills. So now the situations have changed. Now both men and women both are working, and economy, money, both the members, both the partners have to work to, bring a better way of living. So for now, in this age, you need that kind of income also. So for that, the other things also need to be said. So awareness campaigns by in the schools, you can start with schools, in the house itself. The kids like you can slowly. Maybe the old generation they'll not understand. They are still there in that. But slowly by slowly, this can be learned.
So one of our major priorities when we started this project was to make our approach gender neutral. So largely we talked about things from a female point of view. But do you think that the kind of cultural conditioning that we have in our society also affects men negatively?
Absolutely. It should be like, the men also has to be included in such type of the talks, because in a society we women are not living alone. Okay, it's like a partnership. huh? So if when we are especially in a marriage like institution, there are two partners involved and then the extended family. So in that scenario, education has to be imparted regarding any form of violence or any form of abuse, whether it is emotional or physical, or about how to conduct. I feel it's the way, how do you conduct yourself in a family when you're having a new family. Those type of counseling has to be more given to a newly wedded couple. Those type of workshops really would help. That's what I really feel. And even from the, and it should be a continuous process. It's not like that today for 1 year you are doing it and then you expect the entire society to change. No, it's a very continuous process, because we have so much of baggage, generations of baggage, because women throughout history, if you look, have been subjugated to different kind of violence throughout this because of the vulnerability she faces when she's a mother, and So now, when we are living in a world where there is gender equity and lot of situations have changed in the era that we are lot of sustainable development goals and all that UN has said. So it's time that we take that onus on our hands and begin with our homes itself, educate about doing your own chores. It's not that it's all that only particular people can do it or anything. Be more kind and learn to how do you de-stress yourself, because we have seen that even men, they are the sole bread earners, winners in their family most of the time. So they are always in a stressed condition also, because it's not easy. One day you are just a kid or just a young man, and then suddenly all this responsibility of another new person is on your head. So it's a huge responsibility, and maybe that also triggers, because he have to share everything, yeah, whatever he is earning. So those type of learnings need to be given, like from the school itself, that everyone has their own space, everyone has their own individuality, and at most in any relationship, it is the respect, and you give and you take. It's not like respect means what do you say, respect means you are above anyone or anything. Yeah, you are supposed to be in a submissive role. No, it's in an equal. I mean, so these type of things have to be educated, and it has to also be in the panchayat level, government level, policies, frameworks has to be, and the domestic violence, it should be prevented. Not that after it happens, start to find ways to again, that is still there. So for that, the government has to find more ways to reach out this to women, bring them to safe houses or whatever they can do after they leave, or those kind of situations.
So we find that in a lot of cases, it is women themselves are pushing other women down.
Yeah.
So do you think this sort of internalized patriarchy perpetuates domestic violence?
Yes. I mean, that's the example I had given some time back, that sometimes you do unconsciously something you have seen in your family, your mother or grandmother doing, and you tend to follow that same pattern subconsciously. But somewhere you have to put a stop to certain things, and treat both your boys and girls, whoever is there, and especially if abuse is happening to someone near to you, at least you should at least lend a you know but most of the times, what happens if with some divorcee mother or someone you see, a lot of people, there is a stigma attached to it. So those type of things, it's time that the society rewrites itself. I mean, if you are not happy with a relationship, and if you have the ambit, should go and find your own peace in the ways you like. So these type of changes are to come, and also social media. Social media plays a big role. Now, if you look at the mainstream advertisements or serials, some of them are still back into this the
Patriarchy.
patriarchal systems where respect. Those are the key words. Isha. You can see don't answer back. Always, always, the husband is stressed. That's why he's behaving like that. So those type of excuses now we have to do without them. So that's how we move ahead. Yeah.
But often what happens is if somebody is trapped in an abusive relationship, they also have an emotional attachment
Yeah.
to the person. So this is like a dichotomy. They are very confused within themselves how
Yeah.
to deal with this.
Yes.
So do you have any advice for them?
Yes, basically, it's not a what you call. It's a relationship. In any relationship, there might have been a love some time, during the initial days of courtship. And in a lot of cases, especially girls around hardly 18 years or old, or they might be very young when they fell in love with someone, and then thought of forming a family with that person. but then eventually the finds that the roses are all thorns. So it becomes and then when you are very young, your mind is it tries to because you have fallen in love with someone, so it's a very emotional pain for you when someone you have loved does all this harm to you. But then you think that they will come back to you, and maybe for a small moment they show a little bit of love, and then it magnifies for you because it's like some victim and those type of relationship you hold. So it's actually not a very healthy relationship in that way. But then eventually you have kids, and then you are again tied to that particular relationship, and then even if you eventually realize there is no escape because you have remained inactive for a long time in doing something from some job or anything like that, so you are scared of going out. You feel you are living in your cloud of imagination, and that this is your safe, and outside what will happen if you're there. Then there are a lot of family members also which who tells you tolerate and sit there. So all this adds to it, and then you don't know where to go. So this so first thing they need to know that that this is not their fault actually, because the person who is abusive, that's his nature, or that's not something that's supposed to happen. So that realization that you yourself have dignity, you have a respect, you should start respecting yourself, and then find some solution to move on from, if it is a very difficult and a violent relationship, find ways to move out and to seek.
That brings us to almost the end of this conversation. But before we end, most of our viewers are actually young adults or maybe late teenagers. So, do you have any one piece of advice for them as a
Self-respect is the utmost importance in any relationship, and if you feel that your dignity, your respect is um, compromised, you have to take your own steps. Then another thing is your um, independence, your job, your economic independence is very important for your growth, and it helps in a very sustainable relationship where both the earning members will help in sustaining a very beautiful family life.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining with us. And with that, we are closing our session.